In a recent tweet by Splatoon North America, we got confirmation that Bonerattle Arena will be the final map for Splatoon 3 Salmon Run. And my first reaction to this news was to ask, why no Arc Polaris? Regardless of how you feel about the map and its many vertical ziplines, I think we can all agree that it was the coolest looking maps in terms of design. You had a giant space shuttle crash into the ocean, an impact crater on low tide, and these bear paws left in the dirt. Design elements aside, it was pretty clear that this map would kinda suck in Splatoon 3, since King Salmonids like Joe would simply take up the whole platform, especially on high tides, and the other bosses would be an absolute pain to fight given the map's verticality. However, these problems could be addressed by some clever redesigns. So then, why no Arc Polaris? I believe the main reason for this map's exclusion from Splatoon 3 has to do with the game's overall lore. Something you may not have noticed when playing the Squid game is that its developers love to use map design as a way to tell a story about the world. A prime example of this is Piranha Pit, with its Zapfish sighting shore and a hint towards a mysterious organization headed by a 9-tentacled inkling. If you want to know the specifics about this one, go check out the video Rasicus made on it a few years ago. But it's far from the only example. We can also see other bits of obvious storytelling on maps like Hammerhead Bridge, which not only connects two inkling cities, but also has a large floating bust nearby, and that happens to be the very location where we battled Tartar at the end of Octo Expansion. What I'm trying to say is that the developers love to use these not so subtle hints to connect its playable stages with the lore of its world. There's probably a lot more lore that we could learn from the maps we do have, but either no one's bothered to look, the explanations are hidden behind Japanese exclusive interviews, or the YouTube algorithm is doing a terrible job of pushing that content out to people who want to see it. Me, I want to see it. Anyways, the Ruins of Arc Polaris was one of, if not the biggest lore drop stage we got in Splatoon 2. And funny enough, I did make a video about it when it first released, 4 years ago, covering all of the lore we could get from the stage back then. Things like having a lunar lander fully intact, those fresh bear paws along with a snack that the bear took, so on and so forth. But now that Splatoon 3 is out, we can actually revisit most of these theories and confirm their validity. That's because the Alterna logs gave us a detailed account of this mysterious spaceship. Arc Polaris was the name of a rocket ship which left Earth shortly before its demise, carrying with it many of Earth's species held in cold sleep. Unfortunately, the ship was hit by some debris near the edge of the solar system and had to turn around. And for some reason, this intergalactic spaceship did not have enough fuel to make it back to Earth, so it ended up drifting through space for 10,000 years until eventually crash landed back home. That's the ship we see here. That's the ruins of Arc Polaris, and its only survivor was Bear number 3, who we now know as Mr. Grizz. This explains why we see the bear tracks and, more importantly, the lunar lander. It is very likely that Mr. Grizz awoke from the cryosleep shortly before the crash and then managed to escape and land safely using said lander, then slowly began to explore the area, which happened to be in Salmonid territory. These Salmonids were quick to place signs warning their brethren of the bear nearby, which pretty much confirms that they do, in fact, speak English. But the story does not end there, as the lore dump files tell us how Mr. Grizz used technology from the shuttle to locate Alterna, then made his way there and founded Grizzco to collect golden eggs for his next grand plan, which we saw during the single player story of Splatoon 3. And if you're wondering how in the world Mr. Grizz was smart enough to pull all of this off, apparently he retained his consciousness during the whole 10,000 years of cold hibernation thing and got super smart or something like that. He's pretty much a bear equivalent of Senku from Dr. Stone. Anyways, my main point here is that through Splatoon 3's single player mode, we pretty much learned everything we needed to know about the mystery of Arc Polaris. So even if they were to redesign this map so that it works with the new King Salmonids, why bother if the story that had to be told through this map had already been told? If anything, we should be more excited to see what Bonerattle Arena has in store for us and ask ourselves, what story are the developers trying to tell through this new map? Because oh boy does it look like there's a lot of story. And chances are that just like the final Salmon Run map of Splatoon 2, the Ruins of Arc Polaris, hinted towards the story of the next game, the last Salmon Run map of Splatoon 3 will do the same. Maybe. Let me know what you think of this theory in the comments down below, and also if you've seen any cool or interesting lore bits in other maps in Splatoon 3 that nobody's just talked about up until this point. And if you're enjoying the Squid Game content, feel free to hit subscribe since I do plan to cover side orders shortly after it drops. In the meantime, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll squid you in the next one.